Hello, Bleacher Report listeners. My name is James Hill. I run the YouTube channel MrBucsNation, and we are back with yet another live stream here on the Bleacher Report app. Thank you guys so much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks so much to Bleacher Report for having me on. And in today's live stream, we're going to be covering a very interesting topic, right? Things have arguably just went from bad to worse for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, they're only one game out in terms of the lead of the NFC South, which is crazy to think about. Just goes to show how not good the NFC South has been this year. But given the Buccaneers' record of 4 wins and 7 losses, it also means the Bucs find themselves with a top 10 overall pick right now in terms of the projected draft order. Right now, as it stands, Tampa Bay is projected to have the 7th overall pick in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft. So I thought, and Bleacher Report thought, it would be important today to take a look at what the draft needs are for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into this upcoming NFL draft with the top 10 pick, with the number 7 overall pick. What prospects make sense? Which positions make sense? We're going to be covering all of that in today's live stream. So thank you guys so much for being a part of it. It is greatly appreciated. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Firstly, I want to talk about this, just kind of taking a look at the overall updated order. I think is a really good place to start. You have a lot of different things that have been happening right now. Firstly, Chicago is in a fantastic position. Let's just start that off right now. Chicago has pick 1. They have pick 4. That's good for them. You love to see that in their situations. Tampa Bay is in there at number 7. Now, that could obviously change with how the remainder of this season goes with the Bucs. If they make the playoffs, obviously that's going to change things. If a handful of things happen, things are going to change regarding that draft position. But right now, as it stands, they have the 7th overall pick. New Orleans has the 12th overall pick. You have Atlanta all the way at pick 19. That's the shift, right? That's the biggest differences that can happen for the Bucs right now. Is you could go from pick 7 all the way to pick 19 in a 1-game difference, man. That's nuts. That's nuts. But let's just say for today's example, the Bucs do have a top 10 pick. They do have the number 7 overall pick. This is the area of where they finish up, right? Things don't go well. What are the Buccaneers' needs at that point? Well, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of different needs that you can look at. I kind of want to go over some of the stats today for the Bucs and talk about some of the good, some of the bad, and maybe dive into some prospects. Of course, I know everybody wants to talk about it. We've been taking a look at the chat already here, and a lot of people have been talking about the idea of Bowles getting fired if the team continues to not play well. We talk about that a lot here on Bleacher Report. A lot of people are talking about franchise quarterback, and there's a lot of different guys that are out there, okay? You've got Bo Nix, who's out there. You've got Jaden Daniels, who's out there, LSU quarterback. You've got a lot of different guys. And we'll dive more into the quarterbacks here in a moment, but I just kind of want to take a look at what Baker Mayfield's been doing so far this year. 2,588 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. All things considered, Baker has been playing well this year. I'm going to be honest and say that. You look at the stats, you look at overall Baker. I think that Baker's been playing well, but I do understand where people want to take a swing at quarterback, right? I understand where that mindset comes from. You got to go out and get your guy, right? And this is a divisive thing. Some people feel like Baker is the guy. Some people feel like Baker isn't the guy. People feel like that Baker is good, but he's not going to be the future. He's not going to be the guy that you're going to have for the next 10 years. So who are some guys that could fit that role, right? Well, let's go ahead and take a look over firstly at Pro Football Focus's top 75 draft board, just to get an idea of what's going on here. And it's pretty standard, right? Caleb Williams. If we're looking at just quarterbacks, right? First guy that comes to mind, Caleb Williams. If I'm being completely honest, he's not going to be available. That guy is going to be a Chicago Bear. or whoever has the number 1 overall pick or is in a position. After that, you've got Drake May out of North Carolina. Again, probably a guy that's not going to be there at that number 7 overall pick. He is pretty much unanimously that second guy in terms of the quarterback situation for the NFL draft. You got a lot of other different guys here. You got Fashanu from Penn State. You got Brock Bowers, who's just an absolute beast at Georgia. Keep on going down to the quarterbacks. You got a lot of different guys here. Malik Neighbors out of LSU is another guy that a lot of Bucs fans have been interested in. But you keep on going at the overall big board. There's a lot of non-quarterbacks, right? But the first guy that you get, in my opinion, that should and probably would be on the Bucs' radar if they are interested in drafting a quarterback is Bo Nix. Guys, I've been watching a lot of Oregon football this year. Bo Nix is a good QB. And I just don't look at the quarterback to interception ratio, but that's pretty good as well. He's got 35 touchdowns to like 2 interceptions, maybe 4 interceptions. So that's already good. But what I love about Bo Nix is just what he brings to the table as a quarterback prospect. A big arm, just overall pretty just prototypical quarterback that you would want, right? 6'2", 217. Is a guy that's got a big arm, can make all the throws that you want him to make, has got some ability, just dual threat ability, can be a good pocket passer, can be a guy who can win with his legs. That's some stuff that I like about Bo Nix. He is one of my more favorite quarterback prospects. You also take a look at a couple of guys. Jaden Daniels out of LSU, I know is a good dual threat quarterback, right? Much like in the case of Bo Nix, although I think Jaden Daniels uses his legs a little bit more. Michael Penix, this dude's got crazy upside from Washington. Washington's another team I've been watching a lot of. Michael Penix is a dog. I mean, he is just a dog. He does some crazy stuff, man. It's not Patrick Mahomes-esque, but you read the paragraph there where it talks about unorthodox throwing style, and it's different, right? And I like that. I think that's a very cool thing. And it just showcases his level of talent that you see out there where, yeah, he's not playing by conventional means, by standard means, but man, he's still getting the ball. He's still getting the ball downfield. He's still getting the job done. And I think that's awesome. So whenever you're looking at quarterbacks, those are some of the top guys. JJ McCarthy's in there as well, by the way. He's got that dog in him, but he's more of a potentially a second round type of guy. Maybe. We'll see. If you're not looking at quarterback, number 7 overall pick, right? That's a big deal. What do you look at if you're not looking at quarterback? Well, the Bucs have some other needs besides quarterback. Tackle, not necessarily a need whenever you take a look at it. They moved over Tristan Wirfs over to the left side. That's a fantastic move. And Luke Gedecke's definitely been serving his role as a right tackle. I think that's a very good thing. I don't know if Brock Bowers is going to per se be available with that 7th overall pick. I mean, Brock Bowers is just a beast. I mean, he's been a beast for years, right? You love that. Edge rusher is interesting. I think that there's a lot of interesting guys. Latu from UCLA is one interesting guy. You have Chop Robinson from Penn State, who's another interesting guy. Those are a couple of things where you think, okay, you look at the edge room for the Bucs now. Shaq Barrett's not getting any older or any younger. Sorry. If he wasn't getting any older, that'd be great, but he's not getting any younger. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka hasn't panned out the way the Bucs have expected him to do. Yaya Diaby's been doing some nice things. Anthony Nelson's been brought back on a nice contract, but you could always use more. You need a guy in that room to take control, to take charge. He used to be Shaq Barrett for a while, but again, he's had a really bad Achilles injury. He's not getting any younger. You might want to get a dog at that position, right? That's whenever you do look at guys like Chop Robinson. That's when you look at guys like Latu from UCLA as some interesting options there with the number 7 overall pick. People are also going to say cornerback. Look, folks, I think that is completely fair. You look at the cornerback situation for the Bucs this year. You have an undrafted guy starting at nickel in Christian Izzian, who has done some good things. I'm not going to deny that. He's been a decent nickel corner. Carlton Davis has had an extremely down year. He's been getting hurt. Jamel Dean has had an extremely down year. He's been getting hurt. Is it time? I understand you paid those guys big money. They may be around for another year or two. Is it time to bring in another guy and say, hey, let's get a high investment into this situation? If so, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama is one guy that a lot of Bucs fans love. A lot of Bucs fans love. McKinstry is a beast. And I think he's one of those guys where even if the Bucs were to move on from Todd Bowles, whoever you bring in, this is going to be a guy that's going to be able to succeed. He's an all-around, do-it-all corner. If you get him with the number 7 overall pick, that makes all the sense in the world to me, right? Also, Jared Verse from Florida State's a good edge guy. Nate Wiggins from Clemson, incredible athlete, has been able to do some great stuff over at Clemson as well. Just being consistent. A guy that's helpful not just in passing, but also in run defense as well. I completely think that getting a guy in the cornerback room is something that can make a lot of sense. Also, I know a lot of people are going to love Jared Verse because he went to Florida State. That's an obvious connection there. That can make a lot of sense. What about wide receiver? I think that is a sneaky position, right, that the Bucs could have a need for. Mike Evans is Mike Evans, but he has an expiring contract. The hope is that he comes back. Chris Godwin is Chris Godwin. Everybody knows how good he can be and has been in the past. But this is a passing league, and you could always add more. Good example is the Seattle Seahawks drafted Jackson Smith-Njigba, and they have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Could you see the Bucs do a similar thing? Malik Neighbors, LSU? Oh, my goodness. This is also another guy who a lot of Bucs fans have been talking about here at Bleacher Report. We've seen the connections be there for a guy potentially getting drafted as for wide receiver. A wide receiver trio of Evans, Godwin, and Malik Neighbors, pack it up, right? Pack it up. And that would obviously be a situation where maybe Baker comes back or whoever is in at quarterback. You're building around that guy in that first round, right? And I feel like that's also an important thing. I feel like that's also an incredibly important thing. I understand the idea of going out and getting a franchise guy, but I also would completely understand the idea of just wanting to build around a guy who is successful in Baker, or maybe going out and getting a Kirk Cousins and building around those types of guys. That is also a situation that would make a lot of sense in terms of wanting to stay competitive, build continuity, and just keep a veteran guy in that building, right? Safety is going to be another big need. Right now, Antoine Winfield Jr. has an expiring contract. Right now, Ryan Neal, love the guy, but he hasn't been playing well, all things considered, right? Carmen Kitchens out of Miami is another interesting safety. I think that he is a guy that offers cornerback, safety versatility, a safety that's a modern day NFL safety, right? Isn't just a one note type of safety, very similar like a guy like Antoine Winfield Jr., a guy that can give you a lot of different things. And that's something the Bucs may consider. Now, with the 7th overall pick, is that something that may make sense? Maybe not necessarily, but if you trade down in that situation, that's something that you could totally look at. Right now, as it stands, I think the things that you think about in number 7, right? You look at quarterback, duh, right? Everybody's going to be talking about quarterback, of course. Unless they bring back Baker Mayfield, that's going to be what people are talking about. You're going to be talking about potentially an edge rusher because let's be honest, folks, the pass rush has been not great in terms of consistency, and you really haven't had a guy take over like you want in a top dog. I could see wide receiver being talked about. I really do believe that. Not because I think Mike Evans is going to leave or Chris Godwin is bad, but also just because you want to build. If the idea is you want to build around somebody, then that's an option that's there. I think that interior offensive line is something you're going to look at. for sure is going to be something that you're going to look at. Right now, as it stands, the Bucs interior offensive line has been struggling. Robert Hainsey has been struggling this year. Matt Filer had struggled this year to the point where he got benched, which was a tough situation. Now you have Aaron Stinney in there at left guard, who's been getting some really, really good opportunities. That could be another situation where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could potentially trade down in a scenario and look to get an interior offensive lineman later in the round. That's going to be a big need. Cornerback is something that I think coming into the season, a lot of people thought that's not a need. But now you look at a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry and think, hey, that sounds great. And I don't think a lot of people would be opposed to that. I know a lot of people, even in the chat here on the Bleacher Report app, are saying our cornerbacks are overrated. Maybe you think about a guy at number 7, right? Look at how good Sauce Gardner's been for the Jets. Look at how good some of these other guys have been for their respective teams that were top 10 picks, right? I think that cornerback's definitely something that needs to be considered and should be considered. If you want to trade down, maybe you take a look at a safety. I don't think that people may say like tight end because Brock Bowers. One, I don't think Brock Bowers is going to be there. Two, Cade Otton's done some really good stuff for the Buccaneers this year and last year as well. I think that that's something that isn't going to necessarily be considered, in my opinion. Maybe interior defensive line. You have Kalijah Cansey there. You have Vita Vea there. Logan Hall hasn't done much this year. Will Golson's got an expiring contract. Inside linebacker, Levante David's got an expiring deal. Devin White's got an expiring deal. Are you really going to bring back Devin White? Levante David isn't getting any younger. He may retire after this season. Maybe you look at inside linebacker as well. Those are all positions of need, right? And I think it dives deeper into that idea of like, hey, the Bucs have a lot more questions than answers right now regarding this upcoming draft. Now, obviously, we have a whole off season to go through, right? But what this season, I think, has been showing a lot of people is that, hey, man, this team has regressed the past couple of years. This team has lost a good bit of talent the past couple of years. Guys aren't necessarily panning out. There's some question marks there. Inside linebacker, defensive line, cornerback, a starting safety, interior offensive line. Do you maybe think, not pick 7, but obviously draft needs, you take a look at running back as a potential need at some point, just to get a guy to complement Rachaad White. Wide receiver, you can determine is a need. Quarterback, you can determine is a need. I just listed off 7 or 8 positions right there, folks. I think whenever you break it down, there's so many, just right now, the season ended today, so many different scenarios you can go with that number 7 overall pick, and really just this draft as a whole, depending on what you feel the needs are. I just listed out a lot of different needs. Some people are going to have those needs ranked higher than others. Some people are going to say quarterback's the most important thing, and they may be right. Some people may say keep Baker Mayfield and build around Baker and go get a corner, go get an edge guy, go get an interior offensive lineman, go get a wide receiver, and you may be right. That's kind of the beauty of this situation, or that's where all the conversations come in, is all these different types of needs that I'm sure at the start of the season, a lot of people thought they didn't have. But now you look and guys are getting expiring deals who aren't playing well. Guys are just point blank not playing well, period, even if they are on a semi-long-term deal. And now you've got a lot of questions. And that creates a lot of different scenarios right now. So those are really a lot of the draft needs that I see whenever I look at this. And I think a lot of that makes sense. Quarterback, corner, interior offensive line. You look at just the interior defensive line could be something. You look at all these different things. Wide receiver is something you could consider. Edge is something you consider. Again, just there's a lot there, man. There's a lot. There is. And some of that will change as we get more answers throughout the remainder of this season, so to speak. And maybe that'll clear it up somewhat a little bit. But right now, I think you've got to consider a lot of different things on the table. I will say, like, quarterback is definitely going to be something that people are going to be talking about a lot. And this is a phenomenal quarterback class. And the Bucs find themselves in a bit of a weird position with the number 7 overall pick. But maybe they'll go out and get a franchise guy. Maybe they will. How many chances do you get to get something like that? So we're going to wait and see, man. It's going to be an interesting conversation throughout the remainder of this season, depending on how everything shakes out. Folks, we can be talking about this in a month. And half those needs I just listed, people might feel aren't needs anymore. But right now, as it stands, those are some of the things that you look at on the offensive side of things, on the defensive side of things, potentially going out, getting some franchise guys at a lot of different positions, be it on defense, be it on offense, be it a quarterback, obviously. Those are some of the needs that are there and some of those guys that I feel like maybe fits for the Bucs. But guys, would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. We've already been talking a lot in the chat here on the Bleacher Report app. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you so much to Bleacher Report for having me on for yet another live stream. That is greatly, greatly appreciated as well. What do you guys think the draft needs are for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear them. Guys, make sure you check everything out here on the Bleacher Report app. It's everything, not just for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not just for the NFL, not even just for college football, but for all sports, right? Anything that you want with sports here, you can find here on the Bleacher Report app. So make sure you continue to check it out. Make sure you continue to stay tuned in to not just the live streams I do here. Again, my name is James Hill. We're on the YouTube channel, MrBucsNation. I do a lot of live streams here on the Bleacher Report app, but all of the live streams that are done here, all of the content that's posted here on the Bleacher Report app, definitely make sure you go and check all of that else. Also, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check out Gridiron Heights. Fantastic, by the way. Fantastic series. I just wanted to get, because I love that for Bleacher Report. That's a personal favorite of mine. But guys, thank you so much for watching this live stream. Again, my name is James Hill. Thank you so much to Bleacher Report for everything that they do as well. And guys, as always, I'll see you all in the next Bleacher Report video or the next Bleacher Report live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. See you soon, and go Bucs.